What's going on, fellas? How we doing today? I'm doing fantastic because we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, professions. Dude, I absolutely love professions. I love going through a MMO and really living that role-playing aspect of the game and being able to, go through and build up a blacksmith or become one of the greatest hunters out there that creates the best leather out there, or you're just that guy. You're known as that guy who people can rely on for a specific task, and having specific trades in a role-playing game is so essential in my opinion. So I really look forward to seeing how Riot really pushes forward their profession system, if they do plan on doing a profession system, and everything of that sort. So yeah, so to kind of start it off, I want to talk about what I like most about professions. And like I said, the RPG element, as well as the potential to create something for your character that you can use to then, build something great to prepare yourselves for an adventure, right? And for me, I think that is so cool to know that you can create something that really fits your character as well as helps you in your adventure, whether it's combat or whether it's traveling, whatever it may be. With professions, the biggest problems I see with a lot of professions is that you spend so many countless hours working on your professions while you're leveling up, or you're out there doing what you need to do, mining rocks and skinning animals, or doing some sort of hunting or whatever it may be, disenchanting items to create new things. I think the biggest problem is that sometimes they're just useless while you're leveling, and to be honest, one of the only, a couple of games that I think do really well with their profession system is vanilla World of Warcraft, which in my opinion is the best MMO ever, and the New World. New World did awesome with their profession system in my opinion, because in New World, at least the things that you created while you're leveling actually somewhat mattered until you started grinding dungeons or whatever, and people found a way to min-max it, right? But, at least you were working towards being able to craft something if you weren't just, out there spamming dungeons or whatever it may be. And I think that, realistically, if you're going to have a game where you're going out adventuring, going out and doing these things, and professions are involved, they have to feel useful, right? But I also feel like whatever you craft needs to also get beaten at one point while you're leveling, right? So it can't be too strong. So if you have a system that's like, you're able to create something and you're able to constantly just upgrade it, to me, I think that's a bit boring, right? Because sooner or later that piece of armor is going to break. If we're looking at it from a role-playing aspect, it's going to break. You can't just constantly be fixing it up if it literally gets chopped in half, right? If you're out there, fighting for the Noxian Empire, and a member of the Dauntless Vanguard comes up and completely wrecks your shield, you're not going to go back and try to weld it together. No, you're going to create something brand new, right? You're going to mold it down and create something new. And I think that's honestly what you should be doing, is as you're adventuring, I don't think it should break, but I think it needs to get beat. You need to be able to get something better, whether it's through dungeons, whether it's through raids, whether it's through some sort of activity. I really don't care, but I think that things that you do should be able to work well with it. I think RuneScape also does a really good job with this, in the fact that if you're like an Iron Man, you don't use the Grand Exchange. You can go out there and you can mine your own. You can go up, raise your mining level, get the ore that's necessary, create the armor that you want or the weapons that you want, and work your way up that way. Now, granted, it's a much longer process, but that's why we play MMOs, right? Is to commit to something and create something awesome for your characters. And so I think that's something that a lot of MMOs should take note on with their profession-based system, is that it should take a long time. You're working on a trade. It's not a short amount of time to get these trades down. You shouldn't be able to just go in and all of a sudden you're good to go, and you know you're able to just spend like 5 minutes and you are an absolute unit. No, I think realistically your professions should level with you at the same time, right? So say for instance you're looking at vanilla WoW, because that's what I've been playing a lot, so it's on my mind. It's like 100 and over 100 hours it takes to get yourself to max level, and you're working on your professions in the meantime while you're doing it. And I think it's got such a really good setup to where your professions, if you're actively looking for the resources, your professions will level with you, and you're going to be able to create upgrades, right? So on my character that I'm currently working on the hardcore server, I am decked out in a bunch of leather gear that I've created in the beginning, and they're slowly getting replaced by things, whether they're through a dungeon or whether I find them on something that I took a while to kill, or quests that I completed. But the fact that I'm still working on my professions in the meantime, I will sooner or later be able to replace it if I keep working at it, if I don't get the right drops. And I think that's a good way to go about it, is that you should be able to go and replace it, or you should be able to create things to make your stuff stronger, or enchant it with a whatever it may be. So I really think that my biggest problem is when it takes so long for you to level up these professions, and then they're also just useless, and it's like, what the heck, like, why did I even do this? Realistically, I think you should be seeking out these rare materials, whether they're in raids or in dungeons, to be able to give you an advantage on these equipment. Like, it should be, there should be some of the best gear through professions. I don't think it should be every piece of gear, but right. So if you have a specific class that requires a two-handed axe, and the only way you can get it is through conquering a raid, bringing a whole group together to then get your group this specific upgrade. I think it's so awesome. With vanilla WoW, that's with Thunder Fury, or with Hand of Sulphurus, I think it's called, right? You're right. The Ragnaros, the mace, the two-handed one, right? So it's like you have someone who you can rely on to build that for you. Like, look, dude, I went out, I did this adventure. I can only turn to my buddy who's a blacksmith to make this for me. And that's what I want to see. I want to see these professions actually come in handy for you to either seek out someone to do this, or for you to spend the hours to get it done, right? So I think if the Riot MMO goes with the path of like RuneScape, where everyone can do everything, I think every single profession should take a very long time to work on in order for you to get the best gear to do it. And I think I think you should be able to work on at least one profession as you're leveling up, or whatever it may be, to get to a spot that's really good. I think it should be a long grind to do that if you have everything available. Now, if you go with the World of Warcraft aspect, where you only have like a couple of professions, and you're able to get one profession maxed out as you're leveling, I think that's perfectly fine, because then you have to rely on other players to be a blacksmith, be an enchanter, be a leather worker, be a tailor, whatever it may be. And I think that really brings more of that role-playing aspect to it. Now, what do I want to see Riot do? I think personally having everyone being able to do everything is more long-term gain, and it's got more of a solo aspect to it. But I think if everyone's able to go in and you're able to rely on everyone to do that job, I think is personally what I would lean towards doing. But at the same time, I think there's pros and cons to both ways of doing that. But yeah, I think getting a group together to go and find those rare items and bring it together in either your guild or clan, whatever you want to call it, and bring it together to create something great, I think that would be so cool if Riot were to do that. If they were to go in and really learn something from each of these MMOs, I think it's going to be just that. If the professions are there, they have to be made worth it. If you're going to go at end game stuff, like, you got to be able to create things that are you can actually use in our top tier. Because for me, I think professions just kind of get put on the back burner, and it's sad to see all these people put all their effort into these kind of things, and it's like, well, we don't want to make professions too strong, or yada yada. But like, realistically, if you take a look at like what RuneScape does, the professions open up an opportunity for you to go and do something to create the best stuff, right? Whether it's a quest to go and do to create whatever it may be that is awesome. And World of Warcraft does the same thing with the paladins in the early game, right? When you hit level 20, you're able to go and make Veridin's hammer, right? That hammer. And it's so freaking cool, dude. Like, you go on this long quest, you have to go through a dungeon, you have to go and protect somebody, and then you get this amazing weapon that lasts you not until endgame, but for a good amount of time. And you're like, yeah, I earned this weapon, so these next few levels are going to be a little bit easier because I put in this time and effort. And, I don't think that's necessarily a profession-based thing, but I think that professions should open up those kind of quests to people, right? So if you are a blacksmith and they're like, oh yeah, you can go and help this Demacian army by going and receiving this crystal that allows us to then create this helmet that can help us fight against the Noxian Empire, or whatever it may be, right? And because you're a blacksmith, you're the one who goes and gets that and creates it. I think that would be so cool. I think it'd be awesome if you are able to do those things and, create an adventure that way through professions. So, I'm curious what you guys think about professions. What are things that you want to see in the Riot MMO? Go down below, comment. Don't forget, like and subscribe if you like what you see here. And I'm so excited to see what else comes out of this. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have the best day ever. Peace.